Hi, this is Gilles, the radio prepper. This video is about drones for prepping. Now, it might seem a bit off subject, of course, for a radio channel, but it's also a prepping channel. And drones are radio controlled, so you let me know if you don't want to see videos like that are a bit off subject. But I think it's pretty relevant to what we like. And I've noticed that many people who are interested in radio are also interested in technology-related subjects. So I think this applies quite a bit to our interests, basically. This video is going to cover a lot of ground very quickly, so will be putting a lot of links in the description. Check them out. And this is just a primer, basically. There's so much information, but I'm not going to make probably other videos about drones on this channel. I might create a different channel for that, but just to basically get you started if you do have an interest in drones and prepping. There are clearly two kinds of drones, which are very different. One kind is the DJI kind of what I would call the general public kind of drones. This one is the Mavic Mini, made by DJI. It's a very small drone, as you can see. It's got a 2.7K camera, and the arms can unfold like this. And this drone is very good, I have to say. This is the first one I bought. It's got a 2.7K camera, which has a 3-axis gimbal, which means that when the drone, tilts or yaws or pitches, the camera stays steady and gives you a very smooth image. These are very easy to fly. You can probably learn to fly them in about a half an hour, no problem. As soon as you release the controls, the drone stabilizes, and that's it. You don't, you don't have a crash. This one has a GPS. They all have GPS. They all will return automatically to home if you lose the radio connection, and you are limited in the angle that the drone can fly. So basically, if you try to do, you can't do a roll, for instance. It's just the drone is not going to let you. So this one has a 2.7K camera. The great advantage of it is that the camera can move around, and you can tilt it while the drone can move around. But the camera can tilt up and down, so you can actually film right below you, which is very useful. It also has quite a bit of range. If you use the remote and you add a specialized antenna, that's a 4-Hawks patch antenna, you can go up to about 3 kilometers, which is absolutely amazing. Otherwise, you can use also Yagi's antennas that you can clip on the regular antennas. I told you this there was going to be a lot of information, right? So they come with a remote. So when you buy the drone, you get a remote and you get a bunch of batteries and a charger. That's if you get the Fly More pack. I think it should be around about $500. So this is very light. It's 249 grams. In a lot of countries now, if you have a drone that is less than 250 grams, you avoid a lot of regulations, basically. So this is specially designed to get under that 250 grams. There is a place for the battery here. It's a 2S battery, so two 18650 cells in series, but it's a proprietary battery pack, if I can say. And also you can plug in a USB here, and it's also controlled by your phone. So on top of the remote control, actually if you take the remote, you can open it up and your phone slides in here. Now you connect your phone to the remote and you're going to see what the drone sees on your phone. And that's how it works. And it's a fully digital system. So basically, it's all encoded. Power is 25 milliwatts because in many countries the maximum power for the control link and the video link is 25 milliwatts. But again, with a specialized antenna like this one, you can go pretty far. And it's very, I think it's probably one of the best choices if you don't want to get into the FPV drone hobby. And that's what I'm going to describe now. So FPV means first person view. In that case, it's pretty different, that you see what the drone sees, not on your phone, but in specialized goggles. Those are the Fat Shark Attitude V5. Fat Shark is the main manufacturer of goggles. So basically you put the goggles on, you have antennas here that are plugged in, you know, and this is a what's called a diversity receiver. So basically there are two receivers in here, and whichever antenna receives the best signal is going to display it in the goggles. So if I put them on, this is what I look like. I'll have to check on my phone. I don't know how I look like with the goggles on, but basically you are immersed into the experience of flying the drone. You see what the drone sees. What kind of drones are used for FPV, and I'll have to explain the differences, because of course there are so many differences, advantages and disadvantages between regular drones and FPV drones. This, for instance, is an FPV drone. This is a GEP RC, what is it? A Cine King. It's a 2-inch drone. FPV drones are measured by the size of their propellers. So this is a 2-inch propeller. It's a 2-inch drone. Now it's kind of works on the same basis as the regular, you know, general public drone. Is that you have an uplink for control and you have a downlink for video. Uplink for control, so from the remote control to the drone, is on actually either 2.4 gigahertz or 900 megahertz or 868 megahertz for Europe. Of course, the frequencies have to be in a different band, because otherwise you would have you know, conflicts between the two. This one has a 4K camera. Actually, it has two cameras, one that's used for the piloting, and the other one that's used for filming and records in 4K video, which is pretty darn nice. I modified this one a little bit, put a bumpers here for the camera and a different kind of antenna. And the biggest difference between the general public drones and the FPV drones is, I would say, well, first the piloting experience, because general public drones are very easy to fly. You can learn in half an hour. FPV drones, because they give you more control, are very hard to fly. And you have to practice on a simulator. And I use one called LIFTOFF, which is pretty nice. And it's, you know, you can crash a drone. You're going to crash your FPV drones regularly, basically, because at the beginning you're learning, and it's not easy to fly. I even lost one, my first FPV drone. This is a Modular 6. It's called a Tiny Whoop. A Tiny Whoop is basically a tiny drone that has also a camera. Some of them can record as well. This one cannot. You can record though the video feed in your goggles, because your goggles have a what's called a DVR, digital, well, maybe not digital, but video recorder. So you can record your flight inside the goggles, but the quality isn't really good. That's why you have, most of the time you have, like this one, you have the recorder on the drone. This one doesn't. And my first drone was this, because I wanted to learn to fly, and I lost it. As you can see here, I'm flying it, and I can't find my apartment anymore. I went up too fast, and then, you know, lost sight of where I was, because of course I'm seeing everything from the drone, and couldn't find my apartment. Since these drones have a very short flight time, this one has probably a 3.5-minute flight time. So does this one, so that's not a whole lot. The reason being that these drones have a lot more power than a general public drone, like a DJI drone. These are rockets. I mean, they just shoot up so fast, and you can go extremely fast. Some of them can go up to 120 miles an hour. I think the limit is probably around 300 kilometers an hour. So I don't know, probably 150 miles an hour, and that's that's really fast. The FPV drones use LiPo batteries, anywhere from, I don't know, 350 to 1300 milliamps, and anywhere from 2S to 6S, so 2 to 6 cells in series, which explains their short range. But some of them actually can go up to 20 to 30 minutes. I'm actually building one right now, and this is just a frame. The difference between the general public drones and FPV drones, that FPV drones you can either buy already made, or you can make yourself and buy the components and make something that suits your purpose, basically. With this one, it's a 4-inch. I'm going to use a 3-cell 18650 pack. Now this is great because I can also use this with my radios as well. So same battery. I'm also going to try a 4S 18650 cell. That might be a little bit heavy for this one. Maybe I'll build a 5-inch for that. But this will give me again 20 to 30 minutes. For FPV drones, you have to buy the remote. It doesn't come with a drone, basically. So you have choices like here I have a Beta FPV Little Radio 2. That's a 2.4 gigahertz radio. Costs about $50, and it's good for beginners, good for starting. It's only used with basically tiny whoops like the Modula 6 that I showed you, which is this one. So that's pretty much a toy, but when you think about it, this can allow you to see behind a corner. It can allow you to have a look behind a building. Although, of course, you can't let the drone go behind the building because you're going to lose video and you're going to lose control. Those frequencies are so high that anything in between the drone and the radio is just not going to work. If you want long-range capabilities with FPV drones, the only choices pretty much are either TBS Crossfire, which is what I use, and that has a range of up to, well, I think they took it to about 100 kilometers using a plane, but it's so, you won't have any problem, a range problem. This is a TBS Tango 2 that I modified, and it's really a great radio, but it can't control, well, it can control one of these drones at a tiny whoop without adding a module here. So basically you have to buy all your equipment separately: the goggles, the remote control, and the drone. Now, of course, the goggles and the remote control work with all the drones that you might have, so that's an advantage. You only have to buy them once. With the general public drone, you probably will get one remote per drone, and that's not an ideal situation. As far as image quality, I think they're pretty much on par. Either you have an FPV drone, this one 4K, or a general public drone, and that's 2.7K, but I really can't see the difference. The advantage of this one, of course, is that you can tilt the camera, and it's stabilized on all axes. This one is not stabilized, so you have to rely on software stabilization, and it's fixed, so you can't change the angle. It's actually made to, it's actually tilted up a bit, so that when you fly like this, your video, the horizon is pretty much in the middle. Alright, so quick recap mid-video. General public drones are more stable. They also generally have a extended flight time, and they are easier to fly. FPV drones are much faster, much powerful, much more powerful, and not easy to fly. Video quality is about the same. So basically the difference is that for a general public drone, you don't have to really get involved into the FPV hobby, so to speak. It's not something that you have to work on and spend a lot of time dealing with and fixing your drone and doing a lot of building and customizing and anything like that. So the general public drone, you just buy it, fly it once in a while, don't worry about it. You don't have to be concerned about modifications or so much repairs, although you have to send it in for repairs, and that's a problem. An FPV drone, you're going to be working on it all the time. You're going to be changing stuff, you're going to be repairing it because you're going to crash it much more often. So it's not something you can take on lightly. You don't get into that hobby just fly once in a while. It doesn't work that way. It's a little bit like a radio. You can't take a radio, put it in a closet, and think I'm going to use it when the SHTF hits. It's just not going to work that way. FPV drones are the same. They're very. You have to be very involved into the hobby to get any advantage out of them, and that's something to consider. Also, the financial aspect. The general public drone, you buy them once, cry once, and you're done. If you don't crash it, which is unlikely if you're careful, that's it. You have a one-time expense, and you don't have to worry about that anymore, and you use your drone when you need it. The FPV drones, you better have a big wallet. Because you probably have to, like this one, if you buy a Modular 6, buy 2 of them, because you're going to lose one, you're going to crash one, it's going to burn. This one already replaced one motor, the video transmitter stopped working, so I have to change the board now, and it's constant maintenance and repairs, and pretty much every other flight you're going to break something. I mean, maybe not every other flight, but every other session you're going to break something, and at the beginning at least, and that's going to cost you. Same for this one. This is my second one. I burnt the first one. Tried to fly it inside my house over the bed, which had a blanket on it, and I made a mistake. The drone fell on the blanket. Blanket got caught in the propellers, and I saw a big flame shooting up, and it fried everything, and so that's number 2. Not financially, advantageous. So you have to be prepared for that, and buy things in advance, because of course you buy stuff from China. It takes about 3 weeks to a month to sometimes a couple months if it's stuck in customs, and you're gonna have to wait. So if you want to be flying regularly, you're gonna need multiple drones basically, and multiple spare parts. By the way, if you want to see how nimble the FPV drones are, check out Mr. Steele's channel on YouTube. Also, if you want to see the more cinematic side of FPV, check out Johnny FPV. He's the guy who did the latest Apple ad for their iPhone 12. Are drones an advantage for preppers? Well, look at the military, and I would say the answer is duh. Yes, but in only some restricted circumstances, basically, because I don't really see taking a drone in a bug-out bag, in a bug-out situation. They're just too fragile, either of the kind. It doesn't matter. Your drone is not going to keep flying without regular maintenance and repairs. If you can't get the parts, you can't fix it. So this one, for instance, if you have a little bit of, you take off from a dusty ground, and the dust and grit can get into the gimbal, and your camera becomes inoperative. It happened to me once, and unfortunately I was able to move the camera a little bit and shake the dust off, but it started working again. In that case, you just want to let it take off from your hand and catch it when it comes back. But you can easily, you have a hard hit on concrete or anything, you're going to break an arm, and if you don't have spares, well, that's it. You also need a portable soldering iron. You need to be able to have multiple batteries, a way to charge them. You have to carry all the stuff, and honestly, the last thing you want when you're bugging out is to carry more stuff. That said, if you're bugging in and you have a property around your house, or even to survey the neighborhood, you don't want to send family members on reconnaissance missions, risk their lives, basically, safety. A drone can be a very good solution to basically survey what's going on around you. You hear some weird noise, some gunshots far away in the distance, maybe a mile away. send in your drone, have a look. You know, you can do that. It's in that case, it's really a force multiplier. So I can see where they could be really useful, and the military, of course, has found that out quite some time ago, and they use drones extensively now. Not only armed drones for strikes, but for reconnaissance. They just send us little tiny drones and go fly out and see what's going on, where the people are, and that's what it's good for. If you have a property, you're bugged in, you have a few acres. Do you want to go on foot around it, every half an hour to have a look? I don't know. If it's cold, I might just want to get inside and stay there. But with a drone, you can send it out, watch the perimeter and film it even, and you know what's going on. One other use for a drone would be to carry a crossband repeater like the RT-23. Now, if you don't have mountains where you live, you need some height to get some range. You put this on a drone and you can go very far up and get a very long range. The DJI Mini wouldn't carry this. You probably would need a DJI Pro, or otherwise you would need a 5-inch FPV drone. But that's an option that has to be considered. Also, I have used my DJI Mini to carry a wire, to take a wire up for 30 meter band, so a 15 meters wire. And I actually had a conversation, a QSO, a contact, using the drone to lift the antenna wire. Now, of course, that only, it can last so long, and, there can be much wind. It's another disadvantage of drones. If it's too windy, you can't fly. But it did work, and so that's, you never know. So which kind of drone might you, should you get? Either an FPV drone or a general purpose drone? Well, it's not easy to answer. It depends if you want to get involved in the FPV hobby, or if you want something that you're going to fly once in a while and forget about. In that case, I would highly suggest the DJI Mavic Mini. I don't think there's anything better right now for the price, really. It's super stable, has GPS, return home, has a very good camera, tiltable gimbals. This one does not. Now, these are a whole lot more fun to fly, I have to say. It's like a race car compared to a Yugo. Nothing against Yugo, but I mean, I had to choose something. So it's like a race car, basically. This one has prop guards. They don't all have prop guards. But I like this because you can, you hit something, you're not going to break the props. This one you might break the props, although it does come with prop guards, but they are kind of flimsy. It's not an easy decision, but it all depends on whether you want to get into drones as a hobby and use them for prepping as a side gig, so to speak. Or if you want to get a drone that you're going to use once in a while for your family vacation, take great photos and videos, and use for prepping if you need it, and not worry about it in between, in the meantime. That's the difference. For the DJI drones, just go to DJI.com, I think it is. It's very easy to find, they are everywhere. For the FPV drones, I would suggest going to BANGGOOD. It's probably the most, the biggest concentrated supplier of FPV drone gear and parts. All right, I hope you like this. It's a little off topic, a little bit. Not entirely, of course, because it's also about prepping and, it's radio controlled. So I hope you liked it, and leave your comments. Let me know if you want to see more videos that are not exactly related to radio. I might do a little bit more on prepping period, but I think that basically it's a great tool for again, reconnaissance and observing what's going on around you. Not only listening with the radio, but then you have an eye in the sky that can tell you what's going on, and you can it complements the whole thing nicely, so to speak. Please don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget the patreon.com if you want to be a patron. Link is down below, and if you want one of these t-shirts and I'll tell you, it works great with the ladies. Link is down below as well. Have a good one.